Hey, I'm Elizabeth K. Wine, the founder and executive director of Music Export Memphis, and welcome to the Export 101 podcast with Louise Page.
Thank you.
Louise, so excited that you're here. We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
You literally just got off the road from a tour, so the timing of this to me is so perfect.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be your first ever guest.
I know. Well,
what an honor.
A maiden voyage, and here we
Yes.
go. We're going to talk about everything. And to kick us off, let's start from the beginning. So if I said to you, tell me about your first tour with no other specifics, good, bad, ugly, what would you say? Tell me about your first tour.
So my first tour was really good. I loved my first tour. It was in 2018, and it was an East Coast tour. Went through North Carolina, up the East Coast through Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. Farthest north we went was New York City, and then we came back down through Ohio, get back to Memphis. And I planned a lot of that tour around where I knew I had friends and family. Like we didn't play Norfolk, Virginia because it's poppin'. We played it because my aunt lives there and let us stay with her, stuff like that. So no shade to Norfolk. I love Norfolk, but you know what I mean.
Shout out Norfolk, yeah.
Yes, so I really planned that tour around where do I know people, where am I connected, and we had this anchor date of the Central Pennsylvania Festival of the Arts in my hometown in Pennsylvania. So I interned at that festival when I was 18, and I got a little in because of that. They love me. So when we were still a very young band. They booked us to play that festival, and we actually made a decent little amount of coin at that. And this tour I just went on this summer was similar in a lot of ways to that 2018 tour because we were making our way up to this art festival once more. The difference would be that I actually made money on this tour, whereas the first tour I ever went on was a bit of a money pit. I did not make money like that, but it was still a really worthwhile experience. It's genuinely a memory I really cherish. We had a ton of fun. I really bonded with my band.
Yeah.
They got to meet a lot of my family and friends that live all over the place. So it was special. And it was cool to go on a similar tour and sort of see the growth.
A couple of things you're talking about that I want to kind of dig in on a little bit. I mean, really just thinking about when you're planning a tour, particularly a first tour when you're starting out, building that route around people right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't just decide to go up, the East Coast to all the big cities that, it's going to be sexy on a tour poster, but it's not necessarily going to be successful for you if you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
And so just, talk a little bit about that kind of planning that route and what were you thinking about? What was important?
Yeah, so it's you're so right, because for two reasons, it's smart to go places where you actually know people. Number one, there's people that will come to the show and bring their friends. And number two, you get, hopefully, a free place to stay. Yeah. So that was how I planned my first tour, literally, is I had a map, and I marked the cities where I had close family, close friends, someone who would let me stay with them.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it kind of formed into a decent little
That's lucky.
route. It was lucky. There was a couple cities where I wasn't quite as well connected, but for the most part, I was sort of going based on where I knew I had some support built in. So I would say to plan a tour, there's the one side of it, you have transportation, food, and gas. That's kind of one category of expenses. And then on the other side of organizational planning, it's almost like planning a road trip, except you're also setting up a show at every stop. So you have to book a venue, book local support at that venue, and find a place to stay. I genuinely this summer had a whiteboard that had all the cities listed out, and then it had venue, local support, place to stay, written out on the whiteboard, because that's really what you need. You can really start from any of those 3 points. If there's a city where you have a strong connection to a venue, you can start there. If there's a city where you have a strong connection to a band, like maybe you've played with them and they've come through town and they'd play with you in their city, those are both really strong places to start. For me, especially for that first tour, honestly, this tour in 2023, I did a little bit more of starting with the venue or starting with the artist because I'm just far more connected than I was in 2018.
Right.
But back in 2018, I really did start with where can I stay for free, because that will add up to be really expensive. Or if you're camping out or staying in your car or crashing random places, it can just get a little dangerous.
It's dangerous,
and we're getting older. We're all in our late 20s and early 30s. We're like, we don't want to go.
We're
stay at
all
some
in our
random
late
place.
20s. Thank you for noticing, Louise. All of us here are in our late 20s.
Yes, we look amazing.
So something that I think is really interesting about your particular story and touring history is that you are a solo artist, but you have really prioritized touring with a band. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about this because it's not necessarily easy. And I think
it's super fucking hard.
Okay,
Let's not sugarcoat it.
That's the headline.
Yeah,
I think
it's really hard.
A lot of solo artists that I've known or worked with over the years, they just don't, right? They don't even... They're just like, I'm going to do...
Because they're smart and wise.
Well, but like, I think in the end, they're going to perform maybe a less like fully realized version of their music because they're just like, I have to just do this on my own for financial reasons, for planning reasons, all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love for you to talk about like
the
challenges and how you've approached it, but also, I mean, why has that been important to you to prioritize that?
So, I don't blame anyone who just tours solo or like tour. I've thought about doing it, honestly, because it is a bit of a logistical nightmare. The larger your band gets, and, most everyone in my band has a 9-to-5 or similar, job, service industry or 9-to-5 job where it is like a lot to ask them to take this time off. So part of why it's important for me to tour with the band is I'm really stubborn. I'm super stubborn. If I set my mind to doing something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Stubbornness runs in both sides of my family, and I got it like strongly from everyone. So I've always just sort of been a bit of a mule about stuff. Like if I want to do it, I'm going to find a way to do it. Yeah. And I love touring with my band, partly because they're my friends and they're a support system and I want them there with me. Yep. And we worked on these songs together. And then some of it is, like you said, kind of fully realizing the music. I'm really proud of the music we make together. So I want them to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the experience I'm really looking for, is to do that with my band and make that memory and make that impression on the people. I don't want to be on tour and someone comes up and loves my music and then I'm like, well, you should see me with my band. We're great. Because they're never going to see that. They live in Cincinnati. They're probably never going to, I want to actually bring them this fully realized experience. And I love my band. They're my friends. To me, it's like a dream come true. Like road trip with all your friends to play music and make money. It's great.
Financially, what has that meant for you?
Right. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So I go by my name on everything. It's just Louise Page. From day one, that's been important to me to sort of retain creative and financial and whatever legal control over my own work. Yeah. The writing of the songs is really special and important to me. Like the lyrics are really personal. I take that part really seriously. And from day one with my band, it's always sort of been like, I want to approach it collaboratively. I don't want to be too bossy or anything, but it's always been understood that these are my songs that I'm bringing you onto to play with me. And now we all love playing with each other. And thankfully I have a band that was into that and down for that. And I feel so honored, honestly, to have this group of incredibly talented musicians who respect my work and respect me as a musician. If you're listening in and you want to have a band, but you, retain sort of creative control and you're the face of it, like you have to be prepared to back that all financially. Yeah. So taking my band on tour, they did not pay for anything. I told them, you're in charge of paying for your own food, but I paid for the van we rented, the gas, any sort of lodging costs, which thankfully I got down really low. I paid for all of that. Yeah. Because if you want people to invest in you like that and invest that time and that energy into your work and your project, you have to be providing something in return. You can't then also ask them to invest financially, in my opinion. Like, it's too much and no one's going to say yes to that. Yeah. Outside of touring, I think it's really important that my band gets paid at every show. Yep. So I really advocate for that. Or if it's some sort of door deal and we make a little less than we normally do, I pay my band out before I get paid. Or once in a blue moon, I'll eat some money because I want them to get paid. Yeah. So if you really want a band that is riding with you and supporting you, you have to support them back or they're not going to do it because why would they? You know? Or even with recording, like if I'm going to own all the masters and have the writing credits and stuff, then I have to pay for all the recording. So a lot of this too just requires money management and budgeting. Yeah, for me, the camaraderie and the sort of, what's the right word? This sort of teamwork or group, the camaraderie that we have as a band, that is so part of the tour to me, you know? Yeah. It's so important to me.
When you're touring with a band, to me, one of the benefits of that is safety. Because, you know, if you were just going out on the road solo as a woman, unfortunately, there's a lot of safety concerns that come along with that. But I'm sure that that's still true, right? And you're, especially as the one who is maybe doing the deals with the venues and collecting the money.
I'm the mom.
Right? Like, you know, just what are steps that you take to protect yourself? How do you think about that when you're touring?
You have to think about that. And, you know, I really hate to say that my major safety concern on this recent tour we did this summer was I did not want anything to get stolen. I probably should have thought more deeply also about like our personal safety, but you just hear these horror stories of band goes on tour and they get their whole kit and caboodle stolen, and it's terrible. And because instruments are expensive. Being a musician is expensive. We all invest a lot.
And that can tank your entire tour if you're on day 2 and your van gets broken into, or God forbid, just completely stolen.
Right.
Yeah.
This has been by far and away my largest financial investment. I've invested in a nice big van. Mm-hmm. To me, that is a safety thing because number one, we're all traveling together in the nice big van. We can't get separated. Number two, you're just far less likely to have a break-in like a big old Sprinter van than if you have 3 different Kia Souls. You know, those are going to get broken into.
Right.
I like that it keeps us all together. I like that it keeps us all comfortable.
Yep.
And in my eyes, it does keep us safe. Like, people don't really mess with you when you're in a big old van.
Yeah.
In my experience, knock on wood.
Right.
No
well, yes, for sure. But and I'm guessing,
Yeah.
I know that for this most recent tour, you were a Music Export Memphis ambassador, which means you got a grant from us to take that tour. But
That's
to me,
how I got the van.
Well, right. So when you're talking about that, that's what I'm thinking, right? Is like that is literally why these grants exist. Because sure, you could take that tour without that van, but to your point, like it enhanced your experience, it enhanced your safety, like it made the entire thing better. And you know, and I know you made money from this last tour. That's amazing. Congratulations.
That's great. I know. I'm really happy about that.
You're planning these tours yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, talk a little bit about that. I think you've had a little bit of help along the way. You've hired people or worked with folks that have contributed. So, you know, I think that a question I get more than almost any other is literally just, what do I do and how do I start? I mean, I think artists, a lot of times see this big idea of planning a tour, and it's just like, it feels like this thing they can't even conceive, right? How to even take the first steps. And so just talk about, well, of course they can. Yes. But like, talk about how you've approached it and when you've been doing it yourself, and like, where have you hired out help and why?
Here's what I'll say first things first. If you don't have experience booking shows in your hometown, I wouldn't go on tour yet. You need that experience. But if you've that first tour I went on, I'd only been playing shows around town for a year. You don't need a ton of experience. Yeah. But it can't really be, you're going to have a hard time if the very first thing you do is, now I'm going to book this tour. Yeah. Or like you've played 2 shows and now you're trying to book a tour. Get that experience and it'll happen. I promise you, if you're a local artist putting yourself out there, you are going to get an email from a touring band that wants you to play at the High Tone. It's going to happen for you. I promise.
And then you're building those relationships, right?
Yes. So in the beginning, say yes to a lot of that. If a touring band reaches out and wants to play with you, unless you're having some crazy gut reaction and don't want to do it for some reason, say yes to those experiences. That will start to build your networking. Now you start to know bands outside of town. And like I said earlier, you start with the venue, the local support, and the place to stay. Yeah. So these touring bands that are coming through Memphis can be your local support if you get along with them and like them. Or maybe they crash on your floor and now there's a little bit of, that's like tour karma, you know?
Like a little reciprocity.
Yeah, a little reciprocity, exactly. Make sure you're comfortable with booking some shows locally and that you have that experience built up. You break it down into bite-sized pieces. And really all it is every day you need a show and you need a place to stay. So if you have that experience planning shows, you'll be okay. You'll have a different experience out of town, though, because nobody knows who the hell you are.
Right.
You will deal with a lot of rejection. And that is, I think just in the entertainment industry in general, you kind of have to have some thick skin and some good self-esteem. Like, kills me how many people get into the entertainment industry looking for, like, validation and attention. I'm like, oh, no, like, you're going to have a really bad time. People are very mean. It's not a lot of positive attention or validation until you prove yourself to people. Like, if they don't know you.
On the subject of validation and, rejection and all that. So like a lot of musicians, almost everyone I know, you have gigs that you do to help you pay the bills, and they're musical gigs. You played a piano bar, more than one, actually. So that's mostly covers, right? Mm-hmm. And, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you leverage that to grow as an artist, right? Mm-hmm. You're not necessarily playing your own music, but I know it's something that you enjoy doing, but I also know it has to have played a key role in building your chops, right? And
Definitely.
What's that been like for you doing those cover gigs at the piano bars?
Oh yeah, I've played the piano my whole life, but I haven't always played my original songs for people. That didn't start until about 5-6 years ago. And when I first wanted to transition into doing music full time, my good friend Marcella Simeon, who is also an incredible local musician, and she has been a bit of like a big sister or a mentor to me, especially early on when I was first getting started. She straight up told me, she was like, you are a very talented pianist, and that's going to be your bread and butter. Like, that's the thing that you need to monetize if you want to do this full time. Yeah, you're playing covers, number one. It becomes more of almost a service industry gig. You're dealing with the public in a really different way, because these are people that don't give a shit about you. If you're playing your cute little songwriter night where, like, your aunt came and your best friend's there, like, they care about you as a person.
They do, yeah.
If you're playing a freaking piano bar on Beale Street, they don't give a shit about you, okay? Some people are mean. Some people are rude. A lot of people are wonderful and kind and will lift your spirits, but a lot of people aren't. I mean, they're out drinking. They want to hear what they want to hear. They're not thinking about that you're a human being, not a jukebox. So it's like you have to find a way to be personable with people who aren't always being personable with you.
Yeah.
That is like a skill. That's not always easy. So,
and dealing with those audiences too has to be good prep for touring, where you're going into markets hopefully knowing some people, because hopefully we've planned our route with that in mind, but you don't really know what you're walking into, right? So I mean, that's got to be good preparation just in general for the wild card of a new market and a new audience.
That is so true, honestly. It really is. And I would say the first thing that comes to my mind when you ask me about that is that the stamina it's given me.
No kidding.
That now when a venue's like, can your band play for an hour? I'm like, yeah. Hell yeah. No problem. That sounds great.
You're like,
hour?
That's it?
Awesome.
Cool.
Love it. Yeah. So it gives you that stamina. It builds your repertoire. I feel like honestly my songwriting has changed a little bit since I started playing all these covers, because I've just gotten this really good handle on like what people want to hear.
Oh, that's so huge. Yeah.
You can tell if you're paying attention and you're self-aware, you can tell when people are feeling you versus when they're not.
Of course.
It's really demystified the audience for me. Like, I'm not afraid of an audience. I've seen other artists talk sometimes about like, oh, I hate it when people like make audiences dance or ask them to dance or ask them to get up out of their seats. Like, your music should be making them do that. I totally disagree with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating as a performer than looking out and seeing a sea of people like staring at their phones or watching you only through their phones. I love when people take videos, but what I love more than anything is people who are like really engaged in a moment with you. Okay, so I'll get on the mic and I'll just remind people, I'll be like, you're out the house right now. You did the hardest part. You paid for a ticket. You got your outfit on. You're out of the house. And I see all of you out there on your phone, living in your little digital world, but like you're living real life right now. It's happening right now before you. So like, get up off your seat and come dance with us for these last 3 songs. Like, I'm up here putting my whole pussy into these songs. Get on the floor and dance. And it gets to people. And I say that because that would get to me.
Yeah.
If I was at a show on my phone and someone said that, I'd be like, you know what? You're right.
No, same.
I'm going to get up and dance. I think sometimes you have to like shake people out of their reverie, remind them where they are and like why they're there, and remind them that like they can have fun and be in the moment, and they don't have to be recording it, and they don't have to be like living through that filter of a phone. And at the end of the day, like live stuff, connecting to people, that exchange of energy with the audience, that's so important to me. And getting over any sort of like fear of the audience, I think is definitely a skill I learned at these solo gigs, playing covers, whatever. Just kind of learning how to tame the audience and get them in your corner, like with
That's
you.
key. That's
you know,
key.
it's everything.
So, okay, kind of outside the realm of touring, but still really, you know, thinking about how you grow your audience and like expand the reach of your art. You make music videos. It's one of the things that I love about you is that like
Thank
you. You're committed to that. You're committed to that piece of the art. And I think the interesting thing too, talking about music videos, is that it is a piece of art, right? That you're creating that is an extension of this song, but it's a marketing tool too, right? Like so many people are that's how they're coming to the music a lot of the time. And so, but it's not cheap, right?
No. Let me tell you right now, audience, it's a money pit. I'm telling you, if you want to make, I also though like have this really high standard I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You could make a free music video on your iPhone. I saw some at Indie Memphis. I saw this really cool music video that someone made on his iPhone.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm being bougie about it. Maybe you probably could do it a little cheaper. But I also think you often, I mean, if you really have those digital skills to make it on your iPhone, go off and do it. And I'm impressed and I wish I was you. But I think a lot of us don't have that, or you almost get in your own way with that, where you're like, well, I could just do it on my iPhone. And then guess what? You never do it because you're not going to do that because it's a huge undertaking and it's not in your wheelhouse really. So like, not every song, but there have been certain songs where I have a whole music video fantasy in my head. Even before I really wrote music, there would be certain songs that I really loved, and they're often the songs that I would play on repeat, where I'd have a whole like, you know, when you're a kid and you're looking out the car window, but really there's a whole music video fantasy.
Visual. Yes, yes.
So the first couple music videos I made, they were like, I made them because I had this visual fantasy that accompanied the song. It was like a true artist journey of like, I wasn't even really thinking about the marketing. I was more like, I want to like give birth to this imagery that I have so strongly in my head. So that was how it started out for me. I found that I really love the process. I love being on camera. Big surprise. I've found like a team of people I really love to work with. And not that I'm not open to working with other people, but like, you know, that's really key. Like if you can find people who you feel like you creatively jive with and get along with. I just filmed a new music video with director Laura Jean Hawking for this brand new song called Green Ribbon. And Green Ribbon, I'm so excited to release this song. We recorded it with Boo Mitchell at Royal Studios.
Love it.
He produced the song. He has a little cameo in the music video. And actually, like, a lot of this song was me kind of trying to bottle up the essence of what I was just talking about, like trying to get people out of their heads at shows, trying to bottle up the essence of that into the song. So the title Green Ribbon is based on that fairy tale about the girl who always has the green ribbon around her neck.
I was going to ask you, that's literally the first thing it made me think of.
Yeah, it's based on that.
Oh my God, that was my fave. So dark and creepy.
For anyone who doesn't know, like in 2 seconds, she always wears a green ribbon around her neck.
Why?
And then,
turns out.
Right. Well, she tells her husband, don't take off this green ribbon. Does he listen? Of course not.
Because he's a man. No.
Yeah. Well, you know. We'll see. But yeah, right. He takes it off and her head comes off.
Her head falls off.
So I have a lot of like.
Did not see it coming.
So it's like lose your mind, lose your head, lose your inhibitions.
Yeah.
Right. And for this song, this is a great example because I had this very strong vision for a music video, and it was really important to me to make this video. Part of it is marketing because I think it's a good song and I'm working with Royal Studios. I have Boo producing it. So it's like, this is a good one to market. But part of it, like, it really is just like true to my heart. It's like the message of this song is important to me and I want to reach as many people as possible. The way marketing, especially independent marketing works now, it's all video based.
Yep.
Like, I'm still trying to get better at TikTok. I don't know what they want from me. I've like posted a video of a manatee that has more views than any art I've ever made which makes sense, honestly. But, I'm still trying to figure that all out. But music videos, they give you this wealth of digital content if you do them right. I'll tell you, though, to anyone out there that wants to make a music video the way that I make them, where you're hiring someone who's a professional director and editor and you're hiring a whole team, you are either going to need some executive producers, which, let me tell you, all that is a rich person who gives you money to do your project. They're not doing anything else. So if you, if you got it like that, or someone like that, definitely ask them to donate some money to you. But like on the low end, on the low end, $2,000-$3,000.
Yep,
like
absolutely.
That is how much it's going to cost. Several of my music videos have just been labors of love, money pits that I paid for, and you don't make money on them. If there's a way to make money off a music video as an independent artist, I haven't really found it yet.
But I promise you that
it's worth it. It's so
well. It comes back around, right?
It.
Like
it's
when
creatively satisfying.
When you're going to book those tours, and
it makes you look really good when you're booking a tour. I'll
right?
tell you that.
When that venue that maybe hasn't booked you before is like, well, let me look into you, and they see these professionally produced music videos. That is coming back around. It's one of those things that's really hard to trace. That it's really hard to go, okay, this dollar led to these dollars, but like it did, right?
And it does. And let me tell you something, especially as an artist, as a musician, your art is temporal. It is art that exists in time. It, by nature of music, it takes time for someone to receive your art. Whereas with a painting, of course, ideally, or any sort of visual art, ideally you'd want them to spend time with the art, but you do get that just flash first impression, oh, I like that.
Right.
I want to look at it more.
Yeah.
Whereas with music, people have to lend you their time, and people's attention spans are only getting shorter. And a music video or any sort of visual pop is like a great way to get people to pause that extra second, maybe listen to the song. And I'll also say, touring, music videos, like getting, like when I get show posters made, whatever, I think a huge key to being an independent artist is to be connected to your community, lift other people up. I say music video is a money pit, but I love that I'm kind of putting money back into like the artistic community. I'm giving it to other independent artists. I
love that too. Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, that I will say though, I've paid for several of my music videos. I also have 2 music videos that have come to me in interesting other ways. I have one music video for my song Harpy. I'm very fond of this song. Like, you don't want to pick favorites, but it's one of my favorites. I love that song. And I was teaching piano lessons to my friend Nathan Parton's kid, and we worked out a barter where instead of him paying me $50 a lesson, he animated this music video for me because he's a professional tattoo artist.
Yeah.
For the music video I released before Green Ribbon, this video, Little Icarus, the director actually approached me, and this has never happened to me before. I was very touched. He was like, I'm really inspired by this song. I have this concept for a music video, which thankfully I really liked, because otherwise I wouldn't have said yes.
Sure.
And I want to fund it if you're down to just let me use your song. So that's sort of what I mean by accepting opportunities as they come to you.
Yeah.
Don't never do anything that doesn't feel right just because you're trying to get a foot in the door. That's a terrible idea. But if it feels right, the person feels like a real person who can help you, and you like their concept, and they're offering to help you out financially, like, go for it. Like, don't be too proud to do that. And that was a good experience for me.
That's awesome.
That director of Little Icarus, Ben, is amazing. And if you want to check out my music videos, they're all on YouTube. Just look me up, Louise Page, LouisePage.
Awesome.
Pop right up.
Yeah. Last but not least, we're here. This is the Music Export Memphis Export 101 pod. Let's talk about the support you've gotten from Music Export Memphis. And I know we funded this last tour, but just tell us about what that support has allowed you to do.
I definitely will. I love Music Export Memphis. I think y'all are such an amazing organization. And I've actually gotten grants of various sizes, but I've gotten grants for all 3 of the tours I've undertaken. I went on tour in 2018, 2019, and then this year in 2023. I've gotten grants every time. This year, what I used the grant for was to rent the van. And as I discussed earlier, like, to me, like, the van, it's like the Black Pearl. I don't know why I keep making pirate ship references about it, but it's like, it keeps us together as a band. It keeps us safe. I think it kind of adds this element of fun and excitement. And if you're going to be in a van for 4 to 8 hours a day driving.
You need the energy. You need
it
good
would
energy.
be nice if it was a nice van that people want to be in.
Yeah.
You know, or we sometimes you have to do your makeup in the van, or
Yeah.
sometimes you got to change clothes in the van. I mean, for real. And
Yeah.
it's nicer to have a big space. Some of it, too, is truly a practical concern that we have a full drum kit and a full keyboard, and that does not fit in a lot of vehicles. So it's like we could take 6 cars or 1 van.
Just makes the whole thing way more practical and affordable and efficient.
Right. But to rent a big Mercedes Sprinter van is expensive. I think I've used the grant for that every time. I would not be able to afford to do that if I didn't have that grant from Music Export Memphis. And I truly do think it makes a big difference in terms of our camaraderie and our morale and our safety and just like our fun. It adds to the experience a lot. The support from Music Export Memphis meant a lot to me. If you are hoping to get a grant, one thing I will tell you, you do have to kind of bet on yourself, because you have to already have the tour planned to get the grant. They're not just going to give you a grant because you want to go on tour, which makes perfect sense. Like, you need to kind of show your work before you get the money. The way that I made money on this tour as an independent artist, number one, I had this grant that covered some of these large expenses that would have eaten my profit. Number two, I brought merch, and I brought cute merch that people actually want to wear, and I sold it to them. You got to actually like, oh, this shirt would look, this, of all my shirts, this shirt's for you. People love that. They eat it up. Like, you got to get your little salesman hat on.
Yeah.
I actually made a significant amount of my profit from selling merch. Very touching.
You can fund your merch through Music Export Memphis grants as well.
Yeah, you can. I got to start doing that. I think everyone in Memphis who wants any of my merch already has it. So I was like pleasantly surprised to be selling all this merch on tour. But Music Export Memphis was a huge support in that way. And I honestly think it's just a bit of a morale booster for the band, even to know that we have this support and there's this well-respected organization that believes in us and is sharing our tour stories along the way. I hope y'all know that too. Like, you help financially, but for me at least, there's definitely like, it definitely lifts my spirits in a very true way to feel that support coming from home. Yeah. It's really, really nice. So thank you so much for helping to actualize that tour and make it the best it could be. It was really fun. It was very exhausting, but it was very fun. Hi, I'm Louise Page. I am an independent singer, songwriter, and pianist here in Memphis, Tennessee. You can find me on Instagram at Wheezy Page, WeezyPage. You can find me on Facebook, Louise Page, or you can check out my website, louisepagemusic.com, and it's LouisePage, just like a page in a book. You should check out my stuff. It's pretty fun. You can also catch me playing around town at Silky O'Sullivan's and at the Zebra Lounge as a solo artist. You can catch my band playing at Bar DKDC and probably other places. We just play there a lot. And be on the lookout for our brand new single and music video for the song Green Ribbon, recorded at Royal Studios, produced by Boo Mitchell. I'm very excited about this song. It's very dancey. I hope it gets you up out your seat. So that's me. It's a little about me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yay.